All right, today we're tackling a big one. We are diving deep into one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, most opaque intelligence networks on the planet, China's. It often feels like a total black box, right? Well, today we're going to give you the framework to understand it. Let's get into it. You know, this quote really hits the nail on the head. We're not just talking about a couple of spy agencies here. We're talking about a sprawling, interconnected ecosystem with roots that go deep into everything: cyber, business, defense, all across the globe. It's massive. So, how are we going to make sense of this beast? Here's our game plan. We'll start with the big picture, the ecosystem itself. Then, we'll break it down using this really useful metaphor, the three-headed dragon. We'll look at each head: the government, the military, and the party. And finally, we'll put it all back together to see how it operates as one cohesive system. Okay, to really get a grip on China's intelligence community today, you can't just look at an org chart. That won't do it. You have to understand the huge reforms over the last decade that basically reshaped the entire thing into the modern labyrinth it is today. And really, it all boils down to two key moments. First, back in 2015 to 2017, there was this massive wave of reforms. They created powerful new military units, for sure, but the real game changer was a new national intelligence law. And this law basically says that every single citizen and company must help the state with intelligence work if asked. Just let that sink in. Then, literally this year, 2024, another huge reshuffle just blew up the military's intelligence structure and rebuilt it from the ground up. So, how on earth do you navigate all this change? Well, the best way to think about it is to picture China's intelligence community as this three-headed dragon. See, it's not a single entity. It's three distinct, powerful, and deeply connected pillars: the government, the military, and of course, the ruling Chinese Communist Party itself. So let's meet the first head. First up is the government head. This is the dragon's state security arm. We're talking about the official civilian ministries that handle everything from spying abroad to keeping the peace at home. And the big dog here is the Ministry of State Security, or MSS. Honestly, this comparison to a hybrid of the CIA and FBI is probably the quickest way to understand it. It does foreign intelligence, kind of like the CIA, but it also handles domestic counterespionage and political security, which is very much the FBI's territory. It's got a foot in both worlds. So what's its main job? Well, the MSS is fundamentally driven by ideology. Its mission is to crush what the Communist Party calls the five poisons. These are the five things the party sees as the biggest existential threats to its power: Uyghur separatism, Tibetan independence, the Falun Gong movement, any domestic political opposition, and Taiwanese independence. And when your mandate is that broad, you can pretty much justify looking for threats anywhere and everywhere. Now, the MSS doesn't work alone. It's joined at the hip with the Ministry of Public Security, the MPs, which is basically China's national police force. The MPs handles the day-to-day law and order stuff. But here's the crucial part. The line between these two organizations is, as our source says, deliberately blurred. And that's by design. It creates overlapping fields of fire, ensuring total security coverage, with the number one priority always being the protection of the party's rule. All right, let's turn to the second head of the dragon: the military. The intelligence wing of the People's Liberation Army, the PLA, has just been through some of the most radical changes in its entire history. It's a whole new ballgame. Yeah, the really big news from 2024 was the end of the Strategic Support Force. This thing was a behemoth. But this was way more than just a name change. The PLA basically took a wrecking ball to a core part of its command structure to build something faster, leaner, and more specialized, with all the new units reporting directly to the top brass. And you can see exactly how they did it right here. They carved up the old SSF's responsibilities and doled them out. All the space-based stuff, that now goes to the new Military Aerospace Force. Cyber warfare and electronic snooping, that's the job of the new Cyberspace Force. And all the critical network and communications infrastructure is run by the Information Support Force. What's the point of all this? A flatter, more responsive command structure built from modern warfare. So, to sum up the military head, you've got your old-school human spies, you've got the new high-tech space and cyber forces, and then you have this other crucial piece, the political work department. You should think of this as the party's own internal police force inside the PLA, making absolutely sure everyone stays loyal. Okay, on to our third and final head. And this one is probably the most unique. It doesn't operate through the state bureaucracy or the military chain of command. Nope. This one works directly through the Chinese Communist Party itself. This is the head that deals in influence.
and its primary tool is the United Front Work Department, or UFWD. Now, to be clear, this is not a traditional spy agency. It doesn't recruit agents in the classic sense. Our source calls it a strategic enabler. Its job is to go out into the world and basically prepare the battlefield, to cultivate relationships and shape opinions, to create an environment where China's interests and its intelligence operations can succeed.
And they have a clear step-by-step method. First, they identify influential people who aren't in the party. We're talking CEOs, professors, politicians, you name it, both in China and overseas. Step 2, they cultivate relationships with them through business associations, cultural centers, you name it. Step 3 is to use those relationships to influence narratives and gather intelligence. And finally, step 4 is to neutralize any opposition, either by co-opting them or by quietly undermining them. So, we've met the three heads, government, military, and party, but the most important thing to grasp, the real takeaway here, is how they are all part of one single, unified system. Look, this isn't three different dragons competing with each other. It is one dragon with three heads all working together. It's a single interconnected ecosystem where the party is always in charge. And the fact that agencies sometimes have overlapping jobs, that's not a flaw in the system, it's a feature. It builds in redundancy and ensures total coverage.
So what's the bottom line? It's this. When you pull the camera back and look at this entire massive apparatus, you realize it's about way more than just stealing secrets. As our source says so clearly, the entire system, its structure, its organization, its activities, is all geared towards one single thing: ensuring the complete and total control of the Chinese Communist Party.
And that really leaves us with a final, pretty big question to think about. China's system fuses everything: state security, military might, political influence, even the actions of its citizens, into a single coordinated operation. So, what happens when intelligence isn't just something a government does, but is woven into the very fabric of society? What does that mean for the rest of the world?